Hi felters and welcome. So in today's video we're going to go through making the third one of these set of 3 little gnome baubles. I've designed them nice and bright and I received a gift box set from Heidifeathers recently with some of her new products. So we're going to go through them. Let's get started. So first up, and these items are gifted, so it's not a sponsored video. I'm not forced to say anything, but you guys know that I really like Heidifeathers, especially for a one-stop shop for all your needle felting needs. And they're a small business, it's family run. They dispatch things really, really quickly. If you spend over a certain amount, you get free delivery. So this is a new and improved, even bigger wool mat, and I love the wool mats that I've been using. So we're going to use this in the video today. I'm going to go for the white side so that you can see everything really, really clearly. We're going to look at, these are some of her locks. Now, I didn't know she did quite so many locks. We've got Blue Faced Leicester, so that's a really tight curl. We've got Wenslydale, and if you look, there's quite a lot of actual usable locks in these samples. That's a Wenslydale. This is a Wenslydale, which is slightly darker, so it's got mostly greys and a bit of brown. And then a Blue Faced Leicester, similar colours with a lot of grey and brown. I know everyone knows Heidifeathers for needles, but they have so many wools in their shop, and I'm going to be using all their wools today. This is just some sample bags to show you. This is some tops in some beautiful natural colours, and then these are a range of blends that they do. These ones I got a while ago, and they have, for this time of year, it's fantastic. They have glitter in them already. So absolutely perfect. I'm sure she still does them. But definitely, you know, if you're after some Christmas sparkle, these are fantastic. Heidifeathers also stocks Angelina fibres, which are the ultimate sparkle. I used them in a pair of fairy wings I made in one of my videos. I will try and link that one at the end. So that's great if you need a small selection of Angelina fibres. She does obviously needles, tons of needles, really good mixes of needles to buy, especially if you're a beginner and you want to try all the needles that are out there. But these needles are rooting hair needles, which have got a tiny little fork at the end, and these ones I think are relatively new to the shop, and they're great for if you do doll's hair or planting smaller individual bits of hair. And when I did a test on these in a video a while ago, the rooting hair needles really give you a firm attachment. They take a little bit longer. If you were doing a hair all over, I would probably not use them, but if you were doing smaller feature bits of hair, these are really good. She also does whiskers, so these are some black whiskers, always quite hard to source. And I know she does noses, but this is a teeny, I don't think I can even show you it. Let's get it out. Here we go. This is a teeny weeny 3mm dog nose. So she does other sizes too. Really handy if you're doing a little tiny dog or other animals with similar noses. And on to the star of the show, which is her brand new Heidifeathers mixing mat. So what is it? Basically it is a type of blending board, and I have been using it to mix colours together, but quite large amounts. It's like having 2 massive hand carders. So it will come with all these items, I think, in the picture here. So it comes with a hand carder, it comes with these dowels, which are to help you get it off the board, and it will come with some wools, and it's got on the back, you'll fix this on yourself when it arrives. You just need a screwdriver. And the last thing, just had to find it, and the last thing is this is a metal diz, which it helps you pull it out in sort of smaller sections, which I will show you how to do that at the end of the video. So we're going to do the gnome. We're going to blend the colours for the base of the gnome, which I have done already for these guys, and you can see I've got a lovely mix there. So it's if you've got some wools at home and you want to mix them together. I'm also towards the end going to do obviously Highland cow colour, and then I'm going to use it how it would normally be used by spinners, and do what's called a rolag, just to show you how it's used for that purpose as well. But this is brand new in her shop. I think it's about $69.99, and as I said, the booklet's going to change slightly, and it comes with some wools as well for you to have a play around. So basically it's cheaper than buying a big carder, because I have a carder which is about sort of this wide, is considered a small carder, and it still cost me how much was it? 150 second hand. So I think it's about 300 new. So this is a way in which you can mix colours, but for a much lower price. So let me stop waffling and we'll just show you how it works. So I've got my 4 colours that I'm going to put into this. And these are all you can get from Heidifeathers, and I will list everything in the description below that I've used. So I created the green and then the yellow, and now I'm going to do a red base with different coloured hats so that it all sort of ties in quite nicely. So with the blending board, you're going to take your wool and now when I watch videos, the best way to describe it is to literally paint onto the board, and I think that's a lovely way of describing it. So I'm just going to put my hand on the top on that little bit that I want in there, that's not much, and then just pull it down. So you're painting it on, and it's quite a pleasurable process. I might forwards this in a minute once we get going, because you're going to sort of quite easily get the hang of this. But this would be an amazing Christmas present if you're looking to sort of mix up your own wools. So I'm not using too much as I mix it, because I want it to mix quite well. So again, just putting my hand on it, pulling it in a downward direction. You can do this on your lap, or you can have it at a steeper angle. I've put it just on the middle one at the moment. And this is exactly the motion that the drum carder would use by catching the wools and sort of pulling them through the teeth. Let's just do a little bit of this. Is a carded wool, so I don't want too much, but it's good to see how this gets dragged into the teeth, just little bits. When you do a rolag, or when I do a rolag towards the end, you put a lot more wool in it. And then this is the sparkly number, just going to spread it out. Sorry about the lighting today. It's quite a darkish day. We've had a good walk with the dogs, but I have got 3 lights on this, would you believe it? Just to try and make sure you can see everything clearly. I think it's working. So I'm just dragging this one all the way down, giving it quite an even coverage there. And the sparkle is what really makes the outside of the baubles look really good. There we go. So I've used 4 colours there. And then I'm going to take the brush and I'm just going to drag it down. And you do pull some out. And then I'm just going to replace that. But the dragging down helps with a little bit of the mixing. There we go. And there's barely any. You feel like you're pulling it up, but you're not. So that's giving it a nice mix. And then what I like to do is pull this off, not with the dowels yet, because I'm doing it slightly differently. So I'm going to pull it off. If it doesn't want to come off, just go like that with the brush. And you can see I've sort of got a layer of the glitter all on the top. Now I would like this to mix a little bit better. So I'm going to separate this, and then I'm going to take this lot and drag it down the board again. So as with all these things, a lot of people use this blending board for, like I said, rolags, for spinning, but I'm looking at it from a needle felting point of view. What are we getting out of it? How are we going to use it? And this is the way in which I found it most useful for me. It's like having 2 massive carders, basically, or one massive carder and then one that you pull over. So, and I'm just mixing it all again. I don't know if this is completely the right way to do things, but you know me, I like to experiment. So push it down a bit. Do you see how that pushes it right down? That's good, isn't it? And yours start at the bottom, so I'm just going to start brushing it out and work your way up. That needs a bit of blending there. That's good. You always feel you're pulling a lot up, but It's not. It's quite fun. And what I do notice is I'm using a lot of tops, but just blend that in. I'm not getting any sort of pilling, any little, because sometimes it can sort of get little lumps in it. So there you go. So I'm happier with that one. Yeah, that's much more blended. Let me go in a bit and show you. So I just pulled that bit off just to try and show you a bit close up how it's blended. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that. That's really nice. So that's going to be the outside of the bauble. So now that's all ready, I'm going to pull it all off the board and we'll start making the last gnome in the little set. So the base of these gnomes is going to be this dryable, which is, you just buy it pre-made. You can buy them in sets of 4 or 6, and they don't cost more than about £1.50 each, I think. It's just an easy way, but you can make the base yourself. So just to give you an idea of the size, if you want to make the base yourself, so it's 3 inches across, but this just saves a load of time. Here's our premix all done, and we're just going to apply it around the outside, and we don't want gaps, and I'm just going to use 240, no, these are 240 triangulars, just to sort of attach it on. So the thing with the dryables is they are solid. They're a good weight, so that's quite nice, but they are absolutely solid. So quite often you'll find if you've got sort of a 32, 36, 38 needle, you won't be able to stab them very well. So I will finish the surface with a 40 spiral, one of my most favourite needles, as you guys know. But this is just to pop it all on. So when we've popped it all on and over the ball, I'm going to spend a lot of time smoothing the surface. I like my surface really smooth. And you know, I always say you don't have to have your felts as hard as a tennis ball, but these dryables, they are as hard as a tennis ball. They are so hard, but it's nice to get a nice smooth surface. So because it's white, make sure you haven't got any gaps. And we'll just pop this all on. I'll speed up some of this and just show you before I start with the 40 spiral. So there we go, I have covered it all. So just to let you know, these sparkly bits and Angelina fibres, they're completely synthetic, so they don't actually felt. But if you've got other wools with them, that's what helps sort of secure them down. But you're always going to have little bits sort of sticking up. You can trim them off, that's absolutely fine. But just to sort of don't panic, it's really hard to actually get all of them in because they just don't felt in at all because they haven't got any barbs like normal wool. So we're just going to go in for a close-up whilst I show you the 40 spiral and how sort of close I felt all the way over the surface to get a lovely smooth finish. I'm really using a lot of force with this because the dryable's so dense, but I love the fact I don't have to do a base or a core wool on the inside. But you could make these smaller, obviously. So right, and you can squeeze the dryballs a bit to make sure they're round. Okay, so we're super close, but it's the best way for you to see. So it's a 40 spiral. You can use a 40 triangular. And we're just going to do nice close stabbing. I'm not going in too deep, I'm not going in too hard. It's penetrating, so it's only going in that far. It is penetrating the dryable quite easily, but guess what? It just takes time, that's all. And you can see, hopefully you can, these little bits aren't felting in, but they're attached because you've got the other wools. So don't put tons of glitter in if you were going to do this because you'll find it hard to attach it all. And so this is it for a short while. Get a cup of tea, enjoy the process. It's very ASMR, but yeah, I'm not going to make you sit through it all, obviously, but just for yourself, just sit and enjoy the process. This is needle felting, and the best bit is when you get to the end of the ball and you're just doing the last little bit. So that'll be literally 30 seconds for you guys, but probably, in all honesty, it will take me about half an hour. I reckon, to go all the way around this ball, but it's very therapeutic. So I've just done this tiny little section. It took me about 5 minutes, so I think half an hour is a fair assumption, and I need another cup of tea. There we go, all done. And yeah, it did take a while, and my goodness, they are very firm, like I said earlier. So next up we're going to do, it's really simple, these names. We're going to do the nose first, and then the 2 feet, which I think are slightly wonky on that one. And then we'll do the locks, and then we'll do the hat. You do the hat last because you're going to tuck all the locks underneath it. So nose, nice little bit of pink wool. Like I said, I will list everything down below. You don't need much. Let's zoom in a bit. So a little tiny section. I like to just get a little fold over, and it's almost going to start a little bit oblong. And yeah, the spiral's fine. See, are we in shot? Absolutely tiny. So I roll it over, and then I sort of push the ends in a bit, just like that. So I've done one end a tiny bit, and then you're going to just tuck, just mind your fingers, tuck the end in. You can even pull it over and tuck that end bit in. Start to look at it. So I reckon that's going to be the top side. Can you guys see this? It's so small and it's so light. There we go. So just going to turn it on its end, try and squash it down a bit at both ends. This bit's all this, it's not looking very neat there. You can wear finger guards if you want at this stage. If you've got finger guards, when you do small stuff, that's when you're likely to poke yourself. So do put them on if you want to. I should do, really. Just going to push this end down a bit so it's the same size either end. There we go. So I haven't overly felted it. Just made a tiny little nose. It's about the size of my thumbnail, a little bit bigger. So you can put it anywhere you want. I'm going to go for, because you're at the start of the project, it's absolutely fine where you place it, but I'm going to sort of imagine everything. So I'm going to place it halfway between top and bottom, and then the 2 feet are going to go there, and then the hat sort of bends up and over the top. So hold it in place, and then I'm going to felt all around the underneath here, felting it in sort of at an angle, catching the underneath of it before I felt the top. It's just going to secure it. I'm going to turn it round, do the same. So I'm just felting the very bottom bit slightly underneath, trying to make sure it's level. I do push it a tiny bit with the needle. Just be very careful with a fine needle. That's when you're likely to break it, when you're sort of drawing or dragging. So it's sort of slightly on, and now, because you can see those bits there, now I'm going to felt it down. Once I'm happy, it's level, it's where I want it to be. Now I'm going to neaten it up. I'm going through some of the middle. Check we've got this in camera, in shot. Just going through the middle, neaten out that edge bit. And then I'm going to felt the edges down. Make sure you are definitely going through. So yeah, I'm definitely going through with that distance. So I'm happy with that middle bit. Now I'm just going to neaten. It's looking a bit too high up there. Now I'm going to felt down at the edges. I must admit, most of the edges are going to be covered by the locks, so don't panic too much. Just ensures you get the shape that you want out of the nose, and I like it to be sticking out a little bit. It's not going to be flat. There we go. Don't want it to be fluffy. So that's the nose, super simple, and we're going to do exactly the same with two little grey feet. So the first gnome, I did them quite big. The next gnome, I did them a little bit rounder and smaller. I don't know, I think I prefer them slightly bigger. So just take whatever colour you want the feet to be. I've just gone for a grey. It's a very straightforward, simple colour. And then I'm going to roll it over like we did the nose, but make it a little bit longer. Just prep it on the mat first. So now it's staying together. Then you can work on the ends. Just tucking either ends in a bit so it doesn't sort of fall away too much. Very straightforward little foot. So we're going to go down a little bit and out just so they're slightly separated. So do that side first. So exactly the same as the nose, where we go and catch all of the underneath. It just helps position it and attach it. Can you see it? Yes, you can. So you can see I've just sort of attached that underneath bit there. So, and then I'll have a look from the top, make sure I'm happy, it's mostly level. And then I'm going to tidy it up now on the top and make sure it's felted, because it was still quite fluffy really when I attached it. But as I said, not overly felting it. So there we go, that's one foot. Do a little gap and do the other foot. For those of you that like the measurements, the nose is 3/4 of an inch and the feet are about an inch in length. There we have it, a funny looking gnome. I've made it maybe a bit shallower with the nose and the feet, but that'll look good anyway once you put the hat on and the hat goes over the top. So locks. So yes, I'm probably going to use the Blue Faced Leicester locks. I like the look of them, but the other ones are Wenslydales, which give a lovely, well, they're both nice, but I really like the Blue Faced Leicester. Here's the Wenslydale ones. So just get a handful of locks out. You're not going to need that many. And you want, if they're curly, you want the ends that are really, I don't like that one. So you want the ends that are lovely and defined. Where's my scissors? Let's get some scissors. So you want the ends that are really defined like that. There's quite a few here. Oops, I've realised I'm doing it on the white, so that doesn't work. So right, let's just pop them on there. So go through and select out some of your locks. If there's a little bit of discolouring, sometimes you can just break them up a bit and then that works really well. Don't like the locks to be, it's nice, I can fiddle with that one. So yeah, lovely definition on these curls, so that's really good. Just get a few more. Right, so I've got plenty here, so that's okay. So what we're going to do is attach sort of either side of the nose, and then the hat will go on the top, which we'll do next. So you can let them sort of go above the nose a tiny bit, but you don't want too much up above the nose because you've got to attach the hat. So you don't want it to be too bulky. And I sort of scrunch them up a little bit. Let's go closer. So I scrunch them up as I put them on, and we're going to go either side of the nose first. I'm just going to cut that bit off because I don't want too much up there. That's a nice one. Let's put that one that side. That's the tap in the garage, if you can hear it. So I'm scrunching them up quite a bit. Yeah, I like the end of that as well. So I'm just going to turn it around and make sure I use all of that. Perfect. These locks are quite good, actually. Oops. Yeah, I can use all of those in there. They haven't got any massive bulky end bits that aren't good, so I'm just going to lay them underneath and around the nose, and it's going to come down between the feet. See how that's working nicely already? So that lock's got quite a lot of fluffiness there, which I don't want. You can keep hold of those bits that you cut off and use them as core wool. And you want to go to the edge of the feet. Maybe even out a little bit. With locks, if you get to the point where you might have to sort of really pull them apart, try not to, because that's when you sort of split the locks almost a little bit too much. So I think that's too much for there. Let's put that little bit there. That's good. And then I'm going to add, I think, yeah, this bit down here. I just want a bit more definition from the locks for the bit down between his feet. That's better. And the 40 spiral is attaching them really well, really easily. So the hat's going to go across there. So to be fair, I don't think we need too much more. There's a little bit of red showing there, so let's pop a lock in there. Just going to cut this top bit off. There we go. and the hat will come right across there. So I think we are pretty good with that, you know. Right, let's do the hat. So you take some of your hat colour wool that you want, lay it down, not too large a size, nice even thickness, and we're going to aim for something that's no more than 2 inches high and the width of the head. So it's so easy, especially with these wool mats that do sort of take hold of the wool. You're going to draw out your hat triangle. There's a little bit of sparkly wool. Be warned, when you do get Angelina fibres out, they go everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. So just drawing out the hat shape quite lightly. And then we're just going to fold in the edges, and there's more glitter. So because it's attached to the mat, it makes it nice and easy. This is just a bit too thick. Let's just get rid of that. And then fold it in. Just keep that top bit. Don't overly shape it, but just keep it there. That's a good top bit to have. We'll build on that. Looking a little bit wide, or is it? I think it's okay. And then fold up the bottom. Hopefully you can see that clearly. Pieces of straw. Don't like leaving them in. And then I'm just going to felt a bit through the middle, because very lightly, I'm just lightly felting this. I don't want this really hard to get off the mat. I'm just going to felt it over. There we go. Right, we're going to peel it off by scraping our fingers under and pulling it off. Sometimes you get a little bit left over, and sometimes with the wool mats a little bit comes up, but it's never that bad. Oh, there's a big piece of straw there. Don't like that. Let's get rid of that. So we've peeled it off the mat, made sure we've got any of the light bits off. I would normally use the darker side to actually felt this. And so we'll just have a check. Where is he? There we go. So that's definitely wide enough. We're going to bring it in a bit. It looks way bigger than some of the other ones. So what I'm going to do is definitely going to bring the edges in. You can see this, yeah. I'm going to felt inwards. I quite like to get a bit of a curvature here. And back to the clover pen. Getting a bit of a curvature there, and we can definitely bring this in a tiny bit. So I'm angling it down, but I'm really barely going into the mat. See how I've got a little bit of a curve there? And then I play around a little bit on this side, accentuating the curve. This is still quite loosely felted, so we've got to firm it up. And we will pop it on the bauble to actually really firm it up. We'll go over it once more. But I'm just bringing the edges in to sort of make it a little bit smaller, thinner, because it seems a lot bigger than the others. I like that shaping. And then we definitely need this bit. Exactly the same with this bit. This bit can have a tiny bit of a curve if you want it to. just by felting it a bit more at this area here. Can you see? Yes. Always have to check I'm not disappearing off. It's feeling a bit thin, but I think once we felt it on, I mean, it's definitely thick enough, but I like it to be a little bit 3D. So there we go, let's have a check. So it's going to go right down to the nose. Definitely covers either side actually quite nicely. And is it a lot taller? It's a lot taller than the other ones. I can felt it in and down a bit. So we're going to attach it. I'm going back to, yeah, I think I'll go with the spiral. I am talking a lot through this one. I hope you don't mind. So I like to attach one edge. Can we see? Is the shadow okay? I'm not doing the very edge. I'm just going in a bit. And I'm literally positioning it so I know it's going to cover both sides. I like the green. I like the green with the red. Yeah, let's check it's level. It's like I'm almost tacking it on up there, so it's in position. I do want it to just go in a little bit more at the edges. There we go. So it's in position. I'm happy with where it is. Yeah, check its level. And then we're going to go all the way over it and give it a nice smooth surface. Let's just get that right down there. Cool. Right, so let's get that top bit attached. And I don't want it to go too far up. Okay, yeah, that's the dogs playing. Okay, you can watch this in fast forward. There we go, the hat is all smoothed down and he looks super cute. I'm just going to do the white bauble on the end. I've just got a white carded wool. Just fold it over and round, sort of form a rough ball. Am I happy with the size that that's going to be? Yeah, I am. So I'm just going to bring it together on the mat, and now you really can't see it down there. So I'm just going to roll it and felt it a little bit. Very tricky when it's this small. And make sure I don't have any bad. Nope, I'm going to put a bit more on the top of that. It's too small. Tiny little bit more on the top. Roll it round. Poke myself once. There we go. And then I'm going to neaten that whilst it's on the top here. So hold it in place. Let's get you back in the centre. There we go. Right. I squashed the nose a bit earlier with my thumb holding on to it. So the hat's done, the bauble's done on the top. We're going to do some yellow lines like this one, but I'm going to do them going this way, so the opposite way. to that one. So we're going to start at the edge here. You can do whatever pattern you want. You could do more yellow dots. You could do little swirls. You could felt the hat quite a bit before you actually put it on, and then you can sew through the hat, and that would work really well. Let's just cut this little section off just a bit. You want it a little bit wider than where you want it to be, and make sure if you're using wool yarn, just keep the twist. If you're using carded wool, just twist it, and that will give you a nice thin sort of rope-like appearance. Now I have got a secret trick for hiding all these yellow bits, because we're going to put some red wool across the brim. So let's go for the next one. I'm going to keep that twist. There we go. So I'm going to felt sort of across that line into the hat gap, and then I'm just going to force that yellow in there because we're going to cover it up in a minute. And then we're going to go across, and we're going to want it about there. Felt it in, trim it off fairly close, but you've got to give yourself something to felt in. So we've gone over, we've done the lines, and obviously there's some bits sticking out. So take a wool. Now I happen to have a wool which is a really similar colour to the base, but it doesn't matter if you had a contrast colour, it would be absolutely fine as well. And then on this one I had a green that was really similar. So we're just going to cover up all of those edge bits. So attach it at the top. Now, I did go across the top on that one. So I'm just going to feed it down. Can you see? Yep. Nice and close to the base of the hat. So as I said, this one happens to be the same as the green, really close to the colour of the base, which I was very lucky about. But if it didn't match, it would still look fine. I think it would give it a nice look. And so when I get to the brow, this is quite a thin wool, so I'm going to bunch it up quite a bit. So I gather it a little bit with my needle, sort of pull it up shorter. This is how I do some sheep coats. So gather it up a bit, and it just makes it a bit thicker. Can you see that? And then it will definitely cover any of the yellow bits. And then going back to just being straight along here, just to cover up the yellow bits sticking out. So you could put these on before you attach the hat, but then I like to just really firm up the hat first, personally, and do it this way. Because you'd have to attach the hat to this and felt quite a lot, so you'd have to felt this bit quite a lot too. So that was the issue. So especially if you were to like sew a snowflake in or something, you've then got to felt sort of all around the edge of it very, very carefully. And I am just going to pop it across to there and then trim it off. And let's just pop this in. So I sew this in with a needle. Let me grab a needle. You're going to need a needle that will go through the dryer ball. And so I use one of these. This is a punch needle threader. It's a bit bigger than a normal sewing one. And I have to get this through the eye. So it's a little bit tricky because this is quite thick, but it does work. There you go. And then I've been placing this just at the top here because of how you want him to hang. Just got to check, yeah, he hangs perfectly, that's great. And then tie it off. Yeah, it's about the same length as the others, and then I do a double knot on that. Try and get the knot in the same place. This is just a gold thread off Amazon. Find it anywhere, and there you go. There is your last cute little gnome done. Let's put them all together. So I just popped them up on my sort of wreath that I've got on my banister to see how they looked, and then I put them on my tree, which we have got up already. And I'm really pleased with them, and you could just do anything on them. That owl and the little rabbit and the squirrel, that was my videos I did last year. I'll link them at the end. There was a set of baubles. So I'm just going to do a row lag really quickly. We're going to fast forward it all just to show you what a lot of people use a mixing board or blending board for. So you put quite a lot of colours down. I put a little bit of Angelina fibre there, and it's just, honestly, I loved playing. These are quite earthy colours, and then I put some locks in, and when you brush it, you'll see how well it blends together. It's lovely to create these things. I'm not a spinner, so I'm not really going to use Rolags, but for the mixing board, for using it for what I want, it's really great. But look how it blends. It looks so nice all together. And then you get the dowels, you place one either side, and a little bit not level, you have one further out than the other so you can pull it out. And I've never done this before. This was the first time, and you're supposed to draft the wool out as you go just to make it a little bit thinner. Now see how I can draft it and it's all still connected. If anything gets stuck on the board, you just get the carder brush and just sort of flick it up a bit and tuck it in. And I did a whole great big one Rolag, the first one. But the second one I do it in 2 stages. And then so you slide out one of the dowels, and then you can easily slide off the Rolag. But look at the colours, isn't it beautiful? I really liked the colours in this one. And so what spinners would do is they'd pull out the end, and it's really easy for them to spin from a Rolag. So that's how it works. And then I thought I'd give it a go with another colour. So greens, pinks, and then multicolours as well. Just put anything in there, and the locks, and it all goes, and you can put little bits of material in there. See how it blends up so beautifully. I really liked it. So this time I did slightly smaller Rolags, so I pulled one off halfway through, and that's one, so it's a little bit more manageable if you're a spinner. And then I did the second one. Feel like I'm getting the hang of it a little bit more. And there's the second one. And then obviously I had to test out doing a Highland cow colour, because that's my sort of ultimate, getting the perfect Highland cow colour. So I made it a little bit thinner because the Rolags I did a lot thicker. And then I used the colours, and then I repeated the 3 colours that I used, and I pulled it off, and then I put it all back through again. This is just to show you the little metal diz that you get. It's if you want to pull off a thinner rope-like piece, sort of almost a slither. So if you were using carded wool, you could almost pull off slithers. So it's quite handy to know that that's what it's for. But I personally prefer the idea of this for tops, and then a little bit, I did put some carded in this Highland cow mix, and then so I put it all back through again, and I got a really good blend. I really like that blend. So I'll just show you the colours here, blended up to that. So superb if you wanted to do some realistic animal colours. So the mixing board will be in Heidifeathers from the beginning of December. I think it's $69.99. I have a 10% discount for you for only the first 25 customers, so link in description. Thanks for watching everybody, and we'll see you again soon.